Hello, thanks for being here with us. Hello, David. Nice having you
Excited to
here.
be here. Excited to be here, Gustavo.
So today we're going to talk about a topic that is touching every corner of the global workforce, which is artificial intelligence. Not just the technology itself, but how we feel about it, how we trust it, and also how we use it. And joining me today is someone who has been on the front lines of this transition, David Shim, CEO of Read AI, a fast-growing meeting note takers and productivity platform geared towards helping people be more successful at works with tools like transcription, enterprise search, and features specifically geared towards teams and collaboration. And missing anything?
No, I think you got it all covered.
So Read AI recently conducted a survey on how workers, and specifically in Brazil, are reacting to AI in their daily routines. So before we start, let's do a small survey here and let's do a show of hands. Who is more hopeful about AI? Raise your hand. And who is more fearful about AI? Okay, I guess I'm in the minority. But I mean, let's see if you can change my mind by the end of this.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
So let's talk a little bit about the survey, the study itself. I mean, as an AI company focused on the workplace, it is kind of a no-brainer that you want to know how people feel about it, how workers feel about integrating AI to their processes. And what made you look specifically to Brazil?
Brazil is one of our fastest growing markets when it comes to meetings as well as productivity. So we've seen almost a doubling of the number of active users in Brazil since the start of the year to the end of the year, or to the end of April. So essentially, we're doubling every 4 months in terms of the number of users. And they're going out and they're telling their friends, we're doing this without any marketing or advertising. They're just organically going in and saying, I find this valuable. I'm telling my team, and they're adopting it. And what was really interesting was, without any specific Portuguese or Brazilian marketing, what we did was we actually had people just sign up for it. And our first group in Brazil were software engineers and product managers and project managers, where they were working with English or US speaking or English speaking countries where they were doing software development. And what happened on those calls was English wasn't their native language. And when you're on a call, and I do this a lot, I talk very quickly. And if someone is talking very quickly and you're trying to take notes, it becomes very hard to keep up. And so what they started to do was, even for the English calls, use Read and then go back and look at the notes. And then they translated the notes into Portuguese. And so that was kind of an interesting use case to say, all right, this market is trying to work around our limitations and they want to use this product. So that got us really interested in the market.
And you surveyed around 600 professionals here. Can you tell us a little bit about the sample? Were they decision makers, rank and file employees? And what a bit, can you talk a little bit about the findings that emerged from these surveys?
Yeah. So about 600 all across Brazil. These were people that we consider knowledge workers. So knowledge workers are people that are working with computers, working with software. And in that aspect, we wanted to make sure that it was a representative sample. So we have men, women all across the country, and that was really important to have that data set. And they also had to be working at least 20 hours in the space. So it couldn't be a part-timer that only worked like 5 to 10 hours. It couldn't be a hardcore engineer that's an oil miner that's doing it. It was very much like knowledge workers at the end of the day. And one of the biggest takeaways that we got from there was 68% of Brazilians use at least one AI solution every single day. So that's a huge number. But even more interesting is the companies in Brazil aren't necessarily supporting them as much, because only 31% of those employees said their company trained them on AI tools. So what's happening is the individual employee, the worker in Brazil, is going in and saying, I'm going to go find the right solution. I'm going to bring it to my work and I'm going to apply it. And a lot of the times they're even eating the cost of it, versus like the company going in and saying, hey, let me train you on the software solution. Let me educate you on this. And for us, that's been great from an adoption standpoint, but I think there are some risks when you think about it.
And did you have any data points that challenge your assumptions when you looked at the answers that people gave?
Yeah, so some of the things that were really interesting were Brazilians are very similar to the rest of the globe in the sense that they hate meetings. So the number one reason why they were looking for productivity tools was to have fewer meetings, to go to less meetings, and they were open to saying, cancel me, don't invite me to the meeting, it's okay. Because it does take away from your time. Like anywhere from 5 to 20 hours, depending on the country that you're in, a week you are spending in meetings. That time you could actually be doing work. And so I think Brazilians have said, hey, we don't want that. We want to do real work versus just talking about it. What was more stereotypical in a way was Brazilians are very equitable in the conversation compared to the rest of the globe. So if you have 5 Brazilians on a call, every single one of those people will generally talk in the conversation. They'll contribute to the conversation versus in the US, you might have 6, 7, 8 people on a 20-person call not say a single word. So it really does highlight the ability to communicate, to get involved. So cultures really do vary from that. So that's a little bit surprising as well.
And when we talk about how we see AI, and especially in a few years from now, it's either AI is going to solve all of our problems or AI is going to create a jobs apocalypse and it will replace us in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. What do you see that is driving that gap? I mean, if you could contribute to not letting people stay in these two extremes when looking at AI.
Yeah, I think the big part is education on the corporate side. So these companies aren't educating employees to say, this isn't to take your job away. This is actually to make you more productive so that you have more time to work on the things that drive the most value in the organization. If you started the conversation that way with an employee, I think they would go in and say, okay, this makes sense. In the same way that Outlook helps me in a lot of ways to schedule meetings because now everybody can see my calendar. In the way that Teams helps me not have to travel from Sao Paulo to Rio or to Colombia or to Argentina or to Mexico. Any of those places, it gives you that flexibility, but they know the value. And I think what's happening right now is corporations are trying to figure out what's the value of AI, and they know it's valuable, but they don't know how to describe it, or they're worried about how to describe it. And they're kind of confusing employees to say, hey, why are you so quiet about this? Are you trying to hide something, or are you trying to replace me? Versus the companies that go in and say, this is valuable, this is important, and this is going to save you time. People are adopting it in a very rapid pace. Like, to give you an idea, in the US, there's a company called Cursor where they started about 12 months ago, and they're over $100 million USD in revenue, where engineers are actually using AI to help write a big chunk of their code. And these are the most expensive employees in the world when you think about US engineers. And they're going in and they're saying, hey, I love this tool. It's saving me 4 hours, 5 hours every single day. I'm going to use it all day long. And their jobs are not at risk. They are more about, I can get more things done. So I think that's that level of embrace that the corporations have to do.
And not to put on the spot, but for instance, we recently saw the CEO of Shopify saying that hiring will be frozen, and you can only hire someone if you can prove that an AI will not do that same job. How would you respond to that in this conversation?
I think you have to be extreme in certain cases to get everyone's attention. So you have to say, we're not going to hire anyone until we use AI to figure out, can it replace that person instead? The reality is more like, if you look at the CEO of Klarna came out about 6 to 9 months ago and say, we're not going to hire anybody. But then 2 months later, if you go to their website, they had hundreds of job posts available for different hires, for different employees. But it does get the team going in and thinking, like, what can I do? How should I use this? And it's not a bad thing to make those kind of declarative statements.
Right. And one thing that I saw looking at the data of your survey is that there are tons of people who want to integrate AI into their work routines more, but they hesitate. What is making them jittery about AI?
The biggest thing is, what do you do with my data? So what are you actually doing with my data? Are you training models against me? Are you going to replace me? So it requires a level of transparency. We've been doing that from a Read AI perspective, where if we join your meeting, we are a participant on the call. We do that on purpose so you know Read is on the call. When we send the meeting reports out, we let people know if you don't like it, you can delete it and it disappears. So it's that level of trust that you have to build. And it's almost like social networks. So if you think about Instagram or Facebook, when you first had it, I'm sure we all have parents, or maybe you've done it, where it's like, you can't copyright this picture, I own it, and then everybody else comments on it. And there's like this whole loop of like, that's not how it works, because Facebook wasn't clear on what you're doing with their data. Instagram wasn't clear. But now as people get more comfortable, they're like, yeah, I'm fine sharing a picture. I know everybody is going to see it, but I can also share it with just my friends, so not everyone can see it. I can then share it with just one person as a message, and only they can see it, and I can make it disappear. I think AI is the same way. If you give the employees the control at the start to say, hey, I'm going to give you access to this, you can become more productive, but as you start to share this information, other people can become more productive. And I think that value proposition actually works really well in a culture like Brazil, where it is about sharing that information and being able to build each other up. And the biggest opportunity I see in this market in Latin America is the fact that there isn't as much regulation as Europe. If you look at Europe, everything is regulated. They're having a hard time with AI. Here, we're seeing that people want AI solutions. I think almost 90% of Brazilians said they want AI tools to make their work life better. And that's huge. So that's saying like 9 out of 10 of you here are okay with AI if you can prove to me that it makes my life better. And if it does, all day long. And I think that level of adoption and that level of openness to adopt something can put you ahead of all these other countries very quickly in terms of usage and then in terms of application.
And in, specifically in regards to Read AI, because it's a tool that companies can use in meetings, and in these meetings, people can be trading secrets of their company. So have you had companies bringing concerns about like this data not leaking in any way? How do you address these concerns from clients?
So they will bring it up. So what typically happens is someone uses Read in their organization. They don't get permission a lot of times. And then they go in and use it and they find value. And what happens is one person turns into 5, turns into 500 very quickly because everyone is saving time right away. The corporation then comes up and says, whoa, what's going on? And so they'll come in and they'll say, hey, who's Read? So we have all the audits, the security reviews, and we're able to provide them that information. But the couple things that we tell them right off the bat is we do not train our models against your data by default. So we're not building models against your data. 2 is you have full control over your data. So any data that you have in our system, you can delete as an individual or as a corporation. So you have full control on what you want to do. And then 3 is the level of transparency that we provide. The corporations like that because they can go in and say, hey, who's using the product? Yes, that's okay. And they have full access to these data points, but we're respecting the permissions that you already have on your legacy tools. So it is really about setting that tone early on so you can educate people like this isn't Big Brother. This isn't someone that's trying to take your job away. This is someone that is trying to make you more productive. And once you get past there, I can tell you we work with a number of different companies in Brazil. A number of conglomerates have started to add us. So one employee in Brazil added us to a very large company, and then more and more. And they said, hey, what's going on? Show us your information. We sent it over. And now they're going in and saying, like, can you do 50? Can you do 500 licenses? So that's kind of the motion that we see.
And I mean, one another thing that people think they would be more open to using AI is knowing how these systems work. But many of the systems, you cannot know the ins and outs because that's the purpose of machine learning, right? Yeah. You know how it starts, but you don't know how the software will evolve, right?
Yep. So I think people want to know now, which is great. And what makes us different from other meeting note takers or productivity tools is that we will look at how people react to the words that you said. So meeting note takers today, they just go out and say, here's the words that you said. I'm going to drop it into ChatGPT and I'm going to summarize it. What it's missing is how did people react to it? So if I said something and Gustavo was like, oh, that's the worst idea ever, and he shakes his head, he's not saying anything, but his reactions are going in and saying, he doesn't agree with me. He's highly engaged, but he disagrees, and his sentiment went down. So what we did back in 2021 was we built a set of foundational models that looked at the reaction of people in this room and said, how did they react to the content that is being said? And then incorporate that into the summary like a narration layer. So you could read a book like Harry Potter and you have the quotes and you can generally know what's going on, but that narration layer to say what is going on in the rest of the room, that's what we're able to pick up, and that's what our AI is really different at the end of the day. And it does help out a lot too in terms of the different markets that we've been going into. The growth has been really, we've got these kind of foundational models, but these foundational models are based on just everybody in the world. But as you get to different cultures, what we do is we will build a baseline or an index to say, this is how people on this call react. So my face is kind of, if I'm not paying attention, I kind of look angry, but I'm not always angry. I'm just kind of like listening, but I just kind of just resting my face. So the models will go in and say, David's normal face is a 68 on the generic model, but we're going to normalize that to a 75. So then we can see what are the differences. And especially with Brazilians, with Latin Americans, you see there is a lot more emotion in how you say the words, how you express yourself. And that custom baseline is something that makes us really different.
So even the AI is going to judge me at meetings now?
100%. But this is where the opportunity is, if you're not paying attention in a meeting, we'll tell you, you don't need to go to the meeting. Mm-hmm. We'll tell the host, hey, Reed says you don't need to go to the meeting. So what we're seeing when people adopt our technology is anywhere from 10 to 20% fewer meetings after the first month. So now imagine all the employees you have, they have 10 to 20% more time doing real work than staying in meetings. And that's that real value proposition that we see.
Now we're reaching the end of our time. So if people had to leave this room with one message from you in terms of building trust with integrating AI into their work lives, what would you tell them?
I think if you're going to build trust in the AI, you have to be able to use it. You have to be able to understand what it's doing at a high level, but the return has to be there almost in the first 15 to 20 minutes. So when you set something up, you need to show the value and you need to show that it is working right away. And I think that's where we've been able to really ramp up in these markets like Latin America, is because you click a button, you create an account for free at Reed. We'll go in, your meetings, your emails, etc. And then all of a sudden, it's immediately available that you can scan all of that information for content. And the thing that we've been missing over the last year is we actually never changed our price for this market. We said, hey, US price, we're going to apply it globally. We didn't localize it. What we're doing at the start of, today, I think, is we're actually decreasing the price to match localization. So we've reduced the price by 75%. So it's like less than 15 reals per month, where previously it was significantly more than that, because we believe in the market. And I think that's where it's like, it lets you test it, lets you try it out and adopt it.
Well, David, thank you very much. We could stay here talking for many hours, but our time is up. For people who want to learn more about David's Reed AI company, we at the Brazilian Report are doing an interview with David tomorrow, and we're going to publish it on Brazilian.report, so you can delve deeper into David's Reed AI system. Thank you very much, and pleasure to talking to you.
No, this is great. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.